That recipe book was much too valuable to be sold. You seem to know a lot about the book. You seem to know quite a lot about the Angel's recipe. It was explained to all the contestant participants at the beginning of the contest. In that case, you must know about the recipe book's true nature. That it was not a recipe book for desserts after all. Not at all. Impressive, Sir Prosecutor. So, you know the true nature of the Angel's recipe. The Angel's recipe. Some have called it the ultimate recipe book. It contained formulas for new medicines that were not yet on the market. He knew the recipes were actually formulas for new medicines. This could be a useful clue. Did you know the recipe book's value? The Angel's recipe. Did you know its true value? Silly question. It contained Sir Master's best dessert recipes. Any pastry chef worth their salt would want it. Looks like that clue will come in handy. You know what the recipes actually are. You may have studied design in Zengfar. However, your skills in lying could use more work. You just said earlier that the Angel's recipe contained formulas for medicines. You weren't interested in desserts. You wanted the medicine formulas. Ooh, did you need new medicine? No. This is going to destroy the rock. Now, why would a pastry chef such as yourself be so interested in medicine? Perhaps what you were really after was the information about the new medicine. Ooh. I underestimated you, Sir Prosecutor. Yes. My goal was more than just the title of the world's greatest pastry chef. At the time my son was ill, I needed the recipe for medicine. Your son was ill? Tell me more about that. To protect my son's honour, I can say no more. Judging by the worried look on his face, I must have struck a nerve. Next I need him to tell me more about his son's illness. Right. This is it. This will be my final move of the game. What was your son like? What kind of person was your son? Ah, my boy, he loved the desserts I made. Did you enter the contest solely for your son? So, Prosecutor, you could never understand the feelings a father has for his son. I wanted nothing more than to cure my boy's illness. Until the semi-finals, my son would always drop by the contest venue to play. Is that so? Wouldn't he get in your way? I doubt you had time to care for your son while you were challenging Mr. Master. That may be so, but I wanted to grant my son's wish. He said he always wanted to be the first to eat my desserts. Your son sounds pretty healthy to me. About your son. If he was so sick, wouldn't it be difficult for him to come and play with you? My son's illness, it wasn't life-threatening. That might serve as a clue. Did the recipe book have the only cure? Did the Angel's recipe have the only cure? Yes. Though the medicine is being sold everywhere now. At the time, the recipe book was my one and only option. That's why I continued making my desserts, without joining the others for tea time. So you weren't interested in what Mr. Master was making? You sure seem confident in your chances of winning. I couldn't be bothered to pay attention to the other contestants' desserts. You had interest in Mr. Master's works. You just said earlier that you studied Mr. Master's works. In addition, if your goal was to win the contest in order to get the medicine formula, you must have been curious about the other contestants' entries as well. There was time to sample the other desserts during the contest, but none of their entries had any flavour. So I didn't want to eat any of it. I suspect I may have been a bit nervous as well. So everything he ate tasted flavourless. This could be a useful clue. What was the name of the illness? What was the name of your son's illness? So, Prosecutor, how insensitive of you. My son was seriously ill. I will not be discussing this with the likes of you. Looks like that clue will come in handy. But the illness wasn't life-threatening. You told me your son's illness was not life-threatening. Is there really a need to be so secretive about it? It was enough to keep him from living a normal life. That must have been difficult for your son. I tried everything I could to cure his illness. It wasn't fair for the poor boy. He could never taste the desserts he loved so much. Was he too fat? Oh, wow. Was it a taste disorder? The Angel's recipe contains a cure for a certain illness. A remedy that could also cure Mr. Master's taste disorder. What? He had it too? He had it too? I see. So your son suffers from a taste disorder. I didn't think you'd figure it out so quickly. In order to cure your son's taste disorder, you needed the recipe book. Wasn't that your true goal? It is as you say. Based on how he's acted up until now, it appears he is still hiding something. Looks like that clue will come in handy. Didn't you also have the illness? Being unable to taste anything regardless of what you eat. Such a bitter illness. But that reminds me, didn't you say something similar earlier? None of their entries had any flavour, so I didn't feel like eating any of it. Wasn't it? Perhaps your son wasn't the only one who suffered from a taste disorder. Ooh. It's hard to imagine being a successful pastry chef without a sense of taste. Perhaps what you really wanted was to cure yourself. That's completely ludicrous. 18 years ago, I made those desserts all by myself. Didn't you collaborate with Mr. Dover? It seems you've caught yourself in a contradiction. Didn't you cooperate with Isaac Dover in the contest? You can hardly say you made the desserts all by yourself. Oh! No! You must take great pride in your abilities as a pastry chef. But to betray your pride and cooperation with another contestant. You did it all to cure your own disease. Well done, Sir Prosecutor. It is as you say. The one with the taste disorder is not my son. It is I. No one knew. I've kept it a secret for 18 years. It doesn't matter how long a secret is kept. If you lie before me, I will expose it. Dane Gustavia and Isaac Dover were both trying to obtain the recipes for the new medicines. Gustavia to cure his condition, and Dover most likely to sell the recipe book for money. For this reason, they entered the contestant as a collaborative effort. And with that... checkmate. Oh! Very nice. Woohoo! Oh, pardon me. I have never told this to anyone. Well done. I need a drink. It's as you say. I developed a taste disorder 18 years ago. Taste disorder? Trying to open the bottle, quietly. It was a severe disorder. I was unable to discern any flavour at all. It's the one illness a pastry chef dreads above all. Those symptoms sound a bit different from Mr. Messer's taste disorder. He can't taste salt. Mr. Messer's condition is known as hypogeusia. It simply causes a decreased sensitivity to certain specific flavours. I'm sure it has caused Sir Master much pain too. After all, no medication was available to cure it 18 years ago. In order to cure your taste disorder, you would need Mr. Master's Angel's recipe. And that's why you entered the contest. Am I correct? That was one of my goals. I still had my sights set on the title of World's Greatest. When it comes to making desserts, I won't lose to anyone. Even without the ability to taste, I still have the utmost confidence in my flavours. Oh? So I presume you also prepared your desserts in the finals with the intent to win? That goes without saying. According to what Mr. Shields told us earlier, the evaluation of Mr. Gustavia's entry was... Up until the semi-finals, Mr. Gustavia's flavours and designs were to my liking. Unfortunately, both the taste and appearance of his final entry left much to be desired. It seems the dessert you made for the final was not rated highly in regards to flavour. Mr. Gustavia, you will tell us about how you made your dessert during the finals. Very well. My god. It seems I must teach you upstarts a lesson. Dessert for the final. Sedova and I cooperated until the finals. I handled the flavour, he was in charge of the design. However, for the finals, I wanted to challenge Sir Master with my own skills. I helped Sedova make his entry, but I made mine completely on my own. If the flavour of my entry, God, wasn't good enough, my own lack of training was to blame. How about that, Sir Prosecutor? This is the truth of 18 years ago. I can't find any contradictions in his testimony. Well, of course he isn't going to fess up that easily. This guy's been on the run for 18 years, after all. Guess we'll just have to keep on pressing him until he breaks, eh? Yes. Oh, goody. So Mr. Dover took care of the design, while you handled the flavour. Sir Dover was a sculptor by trade. His sense of design was splendid. But he was just an amateur chef. We combined our strengths by working together. You never did have much design sense, did you, Mr. Gustavia? Oh great, we're getting to watch this again. It's a bird! What do you think of this? That's a symbol of saying far. Wow, a phoenix. That is really good. Wow, you really have improved these past 18 years. Behold the fruits of my 18 years of training. I've put my life and limb on the line for my dessert skills. It's true that I cooperated with Sedova 18 years ago, up until the finals. Bum 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 bum. So, you were really serious about the title of World's Greatest Pastry Chef? Yes, confectionery is my life. Naturally, I wanted to be the world's greatest. But back then I was still inexperienced, and I was no match for the better chef. But your goal was also to obtain the angel's recipe, right? Wouldn't the recipe book be worth more to you than the title? Okay. I will not stand by and watch you badger a convalescent man like this. My gavel shall protect you, Mr. Gustavia. I realise he's still recuperating, but... Mr. Gustavia, do not yield to this devilish prosecutor. Now then, please, continue with your testimony. Jesus. So you helped Mr. Dover with his dessert, but made yours all by yourself. No matter how you look at it, this seems odd. Why didn't Mr. Dover assist you? Bum 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 bum. It matters not how it seems, it's the truth. I do not know what Sir Dover was thinking. It's hard to prove if someone is lying about something that happened 18 years ago. Hey Kay, does your secret weapon also work as a lie detector? If it did, I'd have already stolen Mr. Edgeworth's spotlight. There's no need for that, I will expose this man lies myself. Dame Gustavia, please continue with your testimony. Bum bum bum. The flavour of my entry wasn't good enough, his own like a trainee was to blame. Up until the finals, I heard that you received high praise for the flavour of your desserts. Was there some sort of accident during the finals? Nothing of the sort. I simply was unable to taste my work due to my taste disorder. My intuition must have been off. That's all. Then, was your intuition fine while making Mr. Dover's entry? How could there be such a huge difference between the finals and the previous day? We're not getting anywhere at this rate. Should I change the topic? Oh god. Ask about the semi-finals. Yeah, sure. So, you're sure there wasn't anything different between the semi-finals and the finals? Yes. That's right. Aside from not cooperating with Sir Dover, the finals weren't much different from the semi-finals. Except... his son didn't show up, did he? Always came to visit up until the finals. That's the difference. Oh, which is why the taste wasn't up to snuff, because his son didn't taste it. Okay. There was another difference between the semi-finals and finals. This photo depicts your son. We know he came to visit you up until the finals. That is correct. What does that have to do with anything? Your son, who always came to see you through the semi-finals, was not present for the finals. And then, it was only in the finals that your flavour judged poorly. I don't believe this to be a mere coincidence. Your son's visits must have been very important to you, were they not? A father can work miracles when his son is watching. With my son cheering me on, I was able to make the most delicious desserts. Mr. Gustavia sure sounds like a good father, doesn't he? If what he's saying is the whole truth, one could say so. But just hearing his son's cheers wouldn't be enough to change the taste of his desserts. A confectioner, confident in his sense of taste, develops a taste disorder. It would have been difficult for him to maintain the taste of his desserts. Your son came to cheer you on. Was that really all he did? You seem very doubtful, Sir Prosecutor. In that case, I'll turn this around and ask you. What else could my elementary school son have done besides cheer me on? Tasted your desserts. He made them for you. I'm sure your elementary school son would have remembered the taste of your desserts. Of course, my son always loved my desserts. In that case, he would have been able to test your desserts in your place. What did you say? Earlier you told us that you have a taste disorder. I've never told this to anyone. Well done. As you say, I developed a taste disorder 18 years ago. Oh, pardon me. No one else knew about your taste disorder. If Mr. Dover had found out, he would have ended your partnership. After all, you were in charge of the flavour. Your son didn't just cheer you on. He also helped you determine if your desserts tasted correct. No! Ah, I see. Mr. Dover's desserts was made the day before, so it still tasted good. Okay, so what you were saying is quite amusing, Sir Prosecutor. You say that my elementary school son assisted me as a taste tester. You are insulting my pride. Your pride? It's true, I had no sense of design 18 years ago. However, I won't lose to anyone when it comes to flavour. You claim I would cast aside my pride and rely on my son? Don't get carried away with your foolish conjecture, you upstart. Oof. In that case, I'm sure your son can confirm if my theory is mere conjecture. Unfortunately for you, I no longer have a son. Huh? What? After my taste disorder was cured, I went to train in Zhengfa immediately. During that time, I severed all ties with my son. What? Don't tell me. You would even abandon your own son. That's not all. Even today, the whereabouts of his son are still unknown. The police have been searching, but they haven't been able to find any traces of him. You wish to confirm your theory? I welcome you to try. Desserts are the only things that are important to me. After regaining my sense of taste, my song no longer mattered. Wow! Order in the court. Mr. Gustavia's actions are certainly inhumane. However, we are not here to judge whether or not he is a good father. Prosecutor Edgeworth, I believe this is your loss. After all, there is no evidence left from 18 years ago that could prove your theories. There is, actually. Mr. Edgeworth, is there nothing we can do? At this rate, we'll never find out the truth. Detective Gumshoe, where are those results? Oh yeah. I wonder whose blood it could have been. I've asked forensics to look into it, sir. Right, I'll leave it to you, Detective. I entrusted Detective Gumshoe with the last piece of evidence. If only I knew who that blood belonged to. Miles, there's still one thing that's bothering Uncle Ray. Was Mr. Gustavia's only reason for coming to the art gallery to check on the body? If he only wanted to confirm the body's presence, he wouldn't have needed to open the case. That's right. Is there a way we can prove this? There is one way, we just need that evidence from Detective Gumshoe. Prosecutor Edgeworth? What are you talking about? Mr. Edgeworth, sorry to keep you waiting, sir. Oh, finally. Huh. Just the person I was talking about. Detective Gumshoe, I trust you have the test results? Of course, sir. I just got the report back from the lab. Detective, please be silent. Sir, this is the evidence that Prosecutor Edgeworth was talking about. Huh? Hey, where's this? Oh, what's this? This is the first I've heard of it. This was a request from me. I asked him to investigate a certain piece of evidence. Why is everyone always helping you out? I'm the one in charge of the crime scene. Mr. the Best. I apologise for taking matters into my own hands, but how about we hear this report first? Sure. Detective Gumshoe, what were the results? Here's the report, sir. The traces of blood found in the Gemini sculpture belong to... the victim of the poison gas, Dane Gustavia. What are you saying? Good work, Detective Gumshoe. As I thought, my theory was correct. Mr. Edgeworth, what do you mean? We too would like an explanation. What on earth does this blood prove? This blood is something that the culprit of the IS-7 incident tried to conceal. It can't be. This blood was found inside the glass case of the Gemini sculpture. In other words, your blood was found alongside Mr. Dover's body. Why would Mr. Gustavia's blood be in a place like that? If you intend to remain silent, then I'll reveal the truth myself. In the Gemini case, aside from the blood, we also found traces of salt and sugar. Salt and blood. And only one of Mr. Dover's sherbet desserts tasted salty. Come to think of it, I remember Miss Delicious saying the same thing 18 years ago. Oh yes, his sherbet was most delicious. Really? I wish I could have eaten some too. But there was one piece that was so salty I couldn't eat it. Salty? It's right here in this photo. It was part of that lyre. That's the lyre from the Gemini constellation. Exactly. For some reason, salt had been mixed into the lyre. No other traces of salt were found in Nova's room. In that case, please explain. Where did the salt detector in the lyre come from? Oh! Salt. I never even thought that they would have a taste. This is the rock salt lamp used as the murder weapon in the IS-7 incident. I believe part of this rock salt lamp was mixed in with the sherbet from the lyre. At the time of the murder, there were 2 rock salt lamps in Mr. Master's room. One of those lamps took Mr. Dover's life. We know that Mr. Dover's blood was left behind on the murderer's lamp. However, there were no traces of anyone's blood found at the crime scene, Mr. Master's room, because the killer disposed all of the desserts with traces of blood into the streams of water, right? No other traces of salt were found in Mr. Dover's room. Speaking of which, weren't the 2 rock salt lamps found in Miss Delicious's room also broken? Looks like both the lamps in the pillars are broken. Both of their light bulbs are broken. Maybe they were dropped on the floor. We never did figure out why the other rock salt lamp was broken. Maybe Mr. Gustavia's blood was on the other lamp. Ah! If your blood was found on the lamps at the crime scene, you would have been suspected. As the culprit, you would have needed to conceal all traces of your blood from the police. Don't tell me how he concealed it in the sherbet lyre. Exactly. The rock salt lamp and his blood were mixed into the sherbet lyre and hidden inside the glass case. Unlike the fountain's water, the sherbet desserts would not be analysed right away. Perhaps he had planned to dispose of the sherbet when the opportunity presented itself. But then, the reason Mr. Gustavia came to this gallery 18 years ago, the body and the evidence pointing to the killer were both stolen. Even the killer could not have anticipated that. There was no way of knowing when the body and the evidence would be discovered. So he planned to destroy the evidence before the Zodiac Art Gallery's grand opening. Then Gustavia, isn't it about time you confessed? You are the true culprit of the IS-7 incident. Monsieur Gustavia, you're the reason Monsieur Master is... Oh my. Mr. Gustavia? Could it be? After all this time, my crime is finally brought to light. The prosecutors and defense attorneys, 18 years ago, never even came close. Bravo, bravo! Well done, Sir Prosecutor. So you admit that you killed Mr. Dover? It is true. I killed Isaac Dover. But he had only himself to blame. What do you mean? Dover and I worked together in order to win the contest. No matter who won, we agreed that we'd share the Angel's recipe. But, on the day of the finals, he stabbed me in the back. Sir Dover, this isn't what we agreed to. I'm sorry, Gustavia. The deal is off. What? But I made your desserts for you. I'm the reason you got this far. And what of it? Can you prove that you assisted me in any way? Dover, you were planning to betray me all along. Because of Dover's treachery, I was forced to make my finals entry on my own. It's just as Sir Prosecutor said, my son assisted me every day until the finals. What about your pride as a confectionery artist? A proud chef loses the ability to taste his own creations. That's a feeling an upstart like you would never understand. Mastering the art of dessert making is my reason for being. It is my one and only pride. Committing murder for the sake of pride. That's another feeling I will never understand. To say nothing of abandoning your own son, such a thought disgusts me. Before you judge me, first understand what happened 18 years ago. On the day of the finals, my son never came to assist me. Thinking back on it now, I suppose Dover had a hand in that as well. Huh. What exactly happened to your son? I do not know, but it no longer matters. Ever since that day, my son meant nothing to me. From what I hear, he's still missing. That's awful. Giving up on him like that. Without your son, you had no chance of winning, correct? Yes, and since I was guaranteed to lose, I needed a failsafe. During the afternoon tea time, I made my way to Sir Master's room. I just needed to take a photo of the cure to my taste disorder. It would have all worked out. If only Dover hadn't interfered. Huh? Oh. Ah, Gustavia. Trying to steal a picture of my prize, are you? That hardly seems sporting. You... Cure for taste disorders? Oh-ho, you have a taste disorder, don't you? Ah, this is rich. A pastry chef who can't taste. Dover, you... Puny worm. You are in no position to oppose me. Why, you... Oh. When I attempted to hit Dover, he struck me and sent me flying. I crashed into one of the rock salt lamps, and that was when my blood stained on it. So Mr. Dover wasn't the first one to be injured. To conceal my blood, I shaved away part of the rock lamp and mixed it into the sherbet. After that, it became a part of the liar skull